I work at a wildlife park outside Brisbane. Last month, an American family walked past our kangaroo enclosure. The dad stopped, stared at the sign, and went pale. The sign read, "Warning, drop bears active in this area." He grabbed his kids. "Everyone back to the car. Now." His wife said, "Honey, what's wrong?" "Drop bears. They're like koalas, but they drop from trees and maul you. I read about them online." I said, "Sir, drop bears aren't real. It's an Aussie joke." He looked at me like I was insane. "A joke? About deadly animals? That's irresponsible. What if someone gets hurt?" I explained we made it up to mess with tourists. He didn't believe me. He said Americans invented national parks, so he knew about wildlife safety. He demanded we take the sign down. When I refused, he called it negligent wildlife management. He left a review warning Americans about our cavalier attitude toward apex predators. He gave us 1 star for failing to take drop bear attacks seriously. My coworker in Sydney dealt with worse. American tourists saw "Mind the Hoop Snakes" spray painted on a trail sign. Someone's joke. She panicked, demanded snake-proof boots from the visitor center. They don't exist. She argued for 20 minutes, then bought gardening gloves for protection. Another bloke at Bondi watched an American refuse to swim because someone told him about sand sharks. He meant sand crabs. She called the Coast Guard to report a shark sighting. They laughed. That's when I realized. Americans believe every Australian danger warning, even the fake ones. I manage a coastal campground near Melbourne. Last summer, an American couple checked in for 3 nights. First morning, the husband found our handmade sign, "Beware, Yowie territory beyond this point." Yowie's our version of Bigfoot. Totally made up. He came back to the office. "You have Sasquatch here?" I said, "Yowies." "And no, mate, they're not real." "Then why the sign?" "Bush legend. Just a laugh." He wasn't laughing. In America, we don't joke about cryptids near children. He said his daughter was scared. I pointed out she was 16 and on her phone. He said that was beside the point. He demanded we remove the sign or provide Yowie insurance. I asked what that would even cover. He said property damage and emotional distress. When I told him it was folklore, he cited Australian wildlife statistics he'd Googled. Apparently, he'd found a satire article listing Yowie attack. Thought it was real. He threatened to contact the U.S. Embassy about false advertising of safe camping conditions. I told him the embassy had better things to do. He packed up and left after 1 night. His review said we endangered families with fake safety warnings that might be real. My mate James runs a hiking tour company in Tasmania. He put up a joke sign near a creek, "Caution, bunyip crossing ahead." Bunyips are mythical swamp creatures. Every Australian kid knows they're fake. An American tour group arrived. One woman read the sign and stopped walking. "What's a bunyip?" James explained it was Aboriginal folklore, not real. She said, "But there's a sign." "Yeah, for fun." "Fun? This is a wilderness area. Signs mean danger." She refused to cross the creek. Said if bunyips were on a sign, someone must have seen them. James explained we put up fake signs all the time because Australians think it's funny. She asked why we joke about safety. He said because real dangers are clearly marked, so we mess with tourists using fake ones. She didn't buy it. Made her husband walk ahead to test if it's safe. He crossed fine. She still wouldn't go. Eventually James had to lead her around a different path. Took an extra hour. She left a review. Guide dismissive of local wildlife threats. Bunyip warnings not taken seriously. Unsafe practices. I bartend at a pub in Darwin. We've got a photo wall of dangerous Aussie animals. Most are real. Crocs, snakes, spiders. Then there's one joke photo labeled, "The Deadly Australian House Hippo." It's a hamster. American bloke studied that wall for 10 minutes. Came to the bar. "You have hippos here?" I said, "Nah, mate. That's a hamster. It's a joke." "But it says house hippo." "Yeah. Because it's small. Lives in houses. It's a hamster." He squinted at the photo. "That doesn't look like a hippo." "Because it's not. It's a joke photo." He got annoyed. Said if we were going to educate tourists about wildlife, we should be accurate. I told him the whole wall was half jokes. He asked how anyone was supposed to know which animals were real. I said, the real ones are the terrifying-looking ones. The hamster should have been a clue. He argued that hippos were actually very dangerous and maybe Australia had a subspecies. I showed him the photo again. Literally a hamster in a tiny cage. He said perspective was hard to judge in photos. He ordered a beer, kept staring at the wall, clearly bothered. Before leaving, he asked if I was absolutely certain about the hippo. I said yes. He said, "Okay, but if I see one, I'm running." I work at a surf shop on the Gold Coast. American guy came in looking nervous. "I need a stinger suit." "Sure, mate. Jellyfish?" "No. For the drop bears." I blinked. Drop bears aren't real. Everyone keeps saying that, but 3 different people told me to watch out for them. I explained it was Australia's most famous tourist prank. He said his Uber driver warned him. I said the driver was messing with him. He showed me a blog post titled "Surviving Drop Bears, Essential Tips." Satire site. He thought it was real. He'd already bought Vegemite because the blog said drop bears hate the smell. I told him that was part of the joke. He said, "So I wasted $8? Yeah. He was furious. Not at himself. At Australia. Why would an entire country lie about animals? I said we think it's funny. He said humor shouldn't involve psychological warfare. He asked if any other animals were fake. I promised everything else was real. He didn't believe me. Asked if saltwater crocs were exaggerated. They're not. They're worse than advertised. He left without buying anything. Took his Vegemite with him. Just in case. I drive a tourist shuttle in Cairns. Had an American couple heading to their resort. We passed a sign. Next 5 kilometers, cassowary crossing. Woman asked, "What's a cassowary?" I said, "Big bird. Prehistoric looking. Very dangerous if provoked." "Like an emu?" "Bigger. Sharper. Meaner." Her husband laughed. "Sure. Like drop bears." I said, "No, cassowaries are real. They'll gut you with their claws." He thought I was messing with him. "Right. Killer birds. Next you'll say koalas are venomous." They're not. But cassowaries actually kill people. His wife Googled it. Went quiet. Showed her husband. He read, looked up at me. "That's a dinosaur." "Yeah, basically." "And they just wander around?" "Sometimes." He was rattled. "Why didn't anyone warn us?" I pointed at the sign we just passed. He said he thought it was another joke. I explained Aussie's joke about fake animals, but real ones are clearly marked. He asked how tourists were supposed to tell the difference. I said, "If it sounds like a joke, it probably is. If it looks like it could kill you, it definitely can." For the rest of the drive, every sign made them nervous. Kangaroo crossing, they asked if kangaroos attack. Wombat area, are wombats aggressive? I spent 30 minutes reassuring them that most Australian animals won't bother them unless provoked. Except magpies during swooping season. They didn't believe magpies were dangerous until I showed them videos. Then they wanted to leave Australia. I work at a bottle shop in Perth. American tourist asked for directions to the nearest emu farm. I said, "Why?" "I want to see the Emu War Memorial." I laughed. Mate, that was 1932. There's no memorial. But Australia lost a war to emus. Technically, yeah, but there's no monument. He looked disappointed. So where did it happen? Campion, Western Australia. Middle of nowhere. Can I visit? It's farmland. Nothing to see. He insisted it was important historical tourism. I explained Australians think the Emu War is hilarious, not memorial-worthy. He said Americans would have built a museum. I said that's the difference between our countries. He asked if emus were still dangerous. I said only if you provoke them. He asked if they hold grudges from the war. I told him emus don't have generational memory of military conflict. He said, but they won. They must remember. I gave up, sold him beer. He left to find the battlefield. I'm a paramedic in Adelaide. Got called to a hotel for a wildlife emergency. Arrived expecting a snake or spider. Found an American woman barricaded in her bathroom. She'd seen a huntsman spider on her ceiling. Huntsmans are harmless. Big, fast, but harmless. I explained this. She said, but Australians say everything's fine, then people die. Not from huntsmans. What about funnel webs? Different spider. Huntsmans don't bite. What if it's a funnel web disguised as a huntsman? I stared at her. That's not how spiders work. She insisted we remove it. My partner grabbed a container, caught it, released it outside. She asked if we were sure it was safe. I showed her photos of funnel webs versus huntsmans. Completely different. She said they looked similar. They don't. Then she asked about redbacks, and whitetails, and mouse spiders. I spent 20 minutes identifying every spider in Australia, explaining which were dangerous. She took notes. Finally, she asked, what about drop bears? I said, not real. Everyone says that. Because it's true. She didn't believe me. Said Australians had cried wolf too many times with fake animals. Now she couldn't trust us about real ones. I told her that was fair, actually. She asked if that meant drop bears were real. I said no. She looked unconvinced. We left. Got another call an hour later. Same hotel. Same woman. She'd seen a possum on her balcony. Thought it was a baby drop bear. It was just a possum. Here's the thing about Australians and danger. We live with real threats daily. Crocs, snakes, spiders, jellyfish, sharks. So we cope by joking about fake ones. Drop bears, hoop snakes, bunyip. It's how we process living somewhere actively trying to kill us. But Americans take every warning literally. They're used to safety regulations and liability. If there's a sign, it's real. If someone warns them, it's serious. They don't realize Aussies warn tourists about fake dangers for fun, then forget to emphasize which dangers are actually real. Next time you visit Australia, here's the rule. If it sounds ridiculous, it's probably a joke. If it looks terrifying, it's probably real. And if an Australian tells you to watch out for something with a weird name, Google it first. Because we'll absolutely tell you about drop bears with a straight face, then act surprised when you believe us.